Sweat does not equal strength. So this video today, I'm going to outline a couple of things that maybe you want to consider if your main exercise routine or program or how you exercise during the week is set up with just back-to-back kind of fitness classes like cycling classes or high intensity like circuit classes or boot camp classes. Now, this is not me ragging on group fitness. I absolutely love group fitness. I think it's amazing, but it's about aligning your expectations with your actions. So there are a couple of issues that I see, or I believe, with many group fitness programs, that there isn't enough dedicated strength training, if any. That you're staying in one kind of energy system for the whole class, and for every class it's kind of the same. There's little individualization, there's a sense of urgency, and there's not a lot of room to really grow as an individual in those classes. So with my clients, I work with people one-on-one, and I have the Bold Collective, which is my templated program. And with the one-on-one, obviously everything is completely individualized. But even within the Bold Collective, it is a templated program, but there's a lot of room for individuality, and I help the humans in that and make that happen so it works for them. Group fitness is awesome. The community, it's a very motivating thing. It's fun. It's a beautiful way to develop more compassion for others and therefore more compassion for yourself. And, I love CrossFit. If you have been around here a while, you know that I do CrossFit. I used to compete in CrossFit. I coach CrossFit. It's my jam. And there are amazing CrossFit facilities that do offer brilliant programming that takes into account the individual within a group setting, which is really, really freaking hard to do. CrossFit gyms that do it really well. But the bottom line of today's video is that sweat does not equal strength, health, longevity, body composition changes, if that's your goal, happiness, freedom in your body. But a lot of these programs or classes are sold on sweating, which is needed in order for you to actually reach your goals. What does help is a smart approach to training and nutrition. So I'm going to go over two things here with the problems I kind of see if you are doing classes as your main form of exercise, and these classes are high intensity. So the first thing is the spectrum of fitness that you're actually missing if you're just doing these classes. So say if you go to like a cycling class and you do that maybe 4 or 5 times a week, you're only really using, in that class you might sort of have a lower intensity and higher intensity, but overall you're using the same sort of energy system throughout that time and for each class. It's one style of training, essentially. And we miss out on all the other benefits that come along the broad spectrum of what encompasses fitness. And specifically with strength training, you miss out on movement, developing movement quality, movement integrity, building muscle, building strength, improving other energy systems along that spectrum, improving physiological and endocrine functions, becoming a more well-rounded, robust, anti-fragile human being physically and mentally. So doing cardio every day, even though you might be in a class where you do many different exercises, is still similar to if you were on the elliptical every day or, on the treadmill. If you are still staying in that same style of training in terms of like time domains and what your output is. And if you are doing this, even if you are changing the exercises, your body will adapt. Your body will adapt. So we are quite limited in the way that we can progressively overload, cardiovascular training, which is what we need to be doing in order to progress, in order to get better. So if you do a class where the main kind of stimulus is 60 seconds on and then 60 seconds off, and you're doing that with maybe like rowing and some walking lunges and burpees and maybe like a TRX row. There's only so much that you can do to progressively overload that stimulus. I mean, that's a kind of fun like cardio workout, right? You'll probably get like pretty huffy puffy and kind of sweaty, but if you're doing that every single day, even if you are doing different exercises but you're still doing a lot of reps, then you're not going to get a lot of the things that I'm assuming that you might want, such as getting stronger, feeling more confident in your body, better sleep, better energy. So it's pretty hard to kind of add load to like a rower or a TRX row. I mean, you can, there's lots of way to progress with a TRX row, but you're kind of restricted with being in the class, the time constraints, the logistics of the class, other people in the class, the education of the trainer and the coach to help you progress it in a way that's still going to be in the stimulus of the class, if that all makes sense. But if you look at maybe like a back squat, doing this in the gym, there are a million ways that you can do this through, and how you can change the intensity of this and add progressive overload with tempo, with load, with volume, different variations. So instead of a back squat, you could do a front squat, you could do a split squat, you could do a reverse lunge. So it's still the same movement pattern, but we're doing bilateral, unilateral, working a different exercise within that movement pattern to create a different stimulus. We can also use different energy systems within, a back squat, using the sets and reps and rest as variables. So there's so many different ways that you can progressively overload with strength training, and even like a small amount of weight or a couple more reps can be really significant with how you progress and how you challenge yourself, and in a way that's really honoring your body and looking after you. So the second thing is, so I've talked about how you're kind of missing that spectrum of fitness if you're kind of just doing that one, working in that one sort of mode, right? But the second thing is that classes aren't goal specific. So if you want to go and lose weight, that's fine. And if you're coming from a place where you haven't done anything before, or doing group fitness is new to you, exercising new to you, then you will have a lot of change. You will see a lot of changes in your body because it's a new stimulus and you're getting a new adaptation. But that will only go so far. Your body is really, really, really smart, and it will start to conserve energy when the stimulus isn't different, when there's no variation to create adaptation, and that's when we plateau. So you have to stimulate the adaptation further in order to progress. So like I said, doing this with strength training is super easy because we go through this kind of these cycles of progression and adaptation. Like say you did 8 reps of a back squat and then with 50 kg, and then the next week you try and do 10 reps with 50 kg, and then you might try and do 12 reps with 50 kg, and then you take it back down to 8 reps, but you add a little bit more weight on. And so we keep going through these cycles, so you're always kind of progressing with it. But when you're doing cardio, it is harder because it's like you have to do more and more and more and more. And when you're in those time, restricted classes, you don't have a lot of opportunity to do more, which is kind of a good thing, because otherwise you're just going to kind of burn yourself out, because your body, it needs more stimulus. But in order to do that through cardio, you need to do more. So it's usually through more time, right? Like if you're running, okay, I'm going to do 5 minutes more next week, and then 5 minutes more, 5 minutes more. It's like, how long do you actually have? And yes, we can change the resistance on the treadmill or the elliptical or whatever, but in classes that makes it a little bit harder. So I worked in a facility in Taiwan where they had group fitness classes there. And there were some women that would do these classes back to back to back. Some women would do like 2, 3 fitness classes back to back because they were trying to get more change, but they were having to do more and more and more because every single class was the same. It was the same. It was like the same routine. They used the same weights. It was the same like capacity. It wasn't looking at the spectrum of fitness. And so now they're doing these classes back to back, and I'm like, dang, okay, like kudos to you for having the endurance to do that. But there are a lot better things that you could be doing with your time and training in a way that's actually going to be effective rather than having to do more. So even in the Bold Collective, where it is programmed for a group of people, there's so much room for variance and individuality because I'm there coaching you. Like if you have a sore shoulder or, schedule demands, or you don't have the right equipment, or if you prefer a dumbbell over a barbell because of biomechanical limitations. But in a high intensity style class or, group fitness class, there are so many limitations with what you can do because of like logistics, the class of the day, and so on. So here is what I suggest. Less cardio. I know that's probably not what you want to hear, and especially if you really love going to these classes. But you can still do them, but I highly suggest bringing in a really solid strength training program to go alongside them. You need to still do them because you enjoy them, but in order to be challenged, in order to still progress, in order to feel excited about your training by being challenged and seeing these things, these ways in which you're improving, then strength training really is the way. Again, I'm not ragging on these classes, but you will have so much better progress by incorporating a proper lifting routine alongside these classes. So like for me right now, I do 3 days of dedicated strength training, and I do 2 days where I go to a CrossFit gym and I do the CrossFit classes. Now these 2 classes that I do, one is usually shorter intervals. So on Tuesday we're working at 2 minutes, and then on a Thursday it is a longer piece. So it's usually kind of a longer AMRAP between 20 and 30 minutes. So I'm actually, again, on that spectrum of fitness, I'm testing these 2 things, right? And that's the same with a lot of my clients that are in the Bold Collective. Like there are different options in there, and a few of them do the 3-day lifting, 3 lifting days a week option because they do other things as well, which is cool. They're like hybrid athletes, and that's what we want to be. So be able to do lots of different things and have all these things complement each other, like martial arts and cycling and running and all these other kind of things, dance. So cardio is not bad at all. We need to be doing it, but we need to be doing all the different parts of it in different ways. But if health is important to you, and if you do want to feel and be stronger, more, able to eat more, feel less burnt out, feel like you're progressing, not feel frustrated, not second guessing yourself, have a higher metabolism, avoid osteoporosis and sarcopenia, avoid metabolic disease, have less fatigue, a longer, healthier life. There are so many positive things that you're not getting if you're just doing circuit training or high intensity classes back to back during the week. So this is where, if these things are important to you, and if these are the expectations that you have around what you're putting into your fitness, then we just need to realign your expectations with the actions you're taking. And I know it can feel really scary and confusing and hard to break away from what you're doing, especially if it's something that feels safe, and to do something new. But I can tell you right now that in all my years of being a personal trainer and being a coach, there is not one single human that has not felt empowered from lifting, from strength training. And I know that so many women that are doing these classes, and they might be using weights, but using high reps and, using the same weights week after week, they can do more. They can do more. They are capable of so much more. So sweating is not to do with the outcomes of your exercise. why you sweat is to do with your genetics. It's to do with your core temperature. For women, it's to do with where you are in your cycle. It's how much body hair you have. There's not a single thing that correlates sweating with losing weight or changing your body or getting stronger or getting more healthy. If you want change but you're not doing that scary thing, and you have to, you have to trust in something new, and you have to trust in yourself that you can do that you can do something new. The thing that will bring you change is you willing to be honest with yourself and look at what you're doing and asking if what you're doing does align with your expectations and what you want. Strength training really is the answer to longevity, to better health, better mobility, body composition, mental health, everything. Again, I'm not putting down group fitness classes, but I'm just asking you to consider if what you're doing now is contributing to what you truly want. And if you are curious about the possibility of trying something new, then the Bold Collective might just be for you. So you can send me a DM or send me a PM, and we can talk about how this could fit into what you're already doing or fit into your life and what it could mean and look like for you. Otherwise, you can pop to my website or the link in my bio and apply. So, sweat does not equal strength.